both the Eagles and the Falcons. This is some major bird bungling here. Some bird, bird poo, if you want. I was trying to go with something good, tampering. Falcons and the Eagles both being investigated by the NFL for illegal tampering. These take place in, no surprise here. You see Kirk Cousins sign really quickly with the Falcons. The NFL is checking with it because, Cousins, I feel like Cousins signed, like they hammered out that deal with Cousins, and he had already been checking out homes in Atlanta. That was a report out of Mike Florio reported that he was checking out schools. He and his family were checking out schools in Atlanta. And so, like, the NFL is checking to see if the Falcons tampered, like, before the illegal tampering period. And then with the Eagles, tampering with Saquon Barkley. Sully, do you think we see anything come out of this?
I mean, you might see some sort of punishment, but I don't think it's like, okay, Saquon Barkley, Kirk Cousins, you're now back into the free agent pool. You can't sign with these teams. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But could you see, I don't know, you dock the 6th round pick or you find something? Sure. That makes sense. I mean, the Kirk Cousins one to me was probably the craziest because he said in his opening press conference that he talked to the head trainer or somebody along those lines. And you're like, wait a minute, Kirk. Maybe you shouldn't say that. That's not exactly. You can't even do that within the legal tampering period, the legal portion. I mean, all of it's silly because all of these teams do this. They have a legal tampering period. It's been
going on for years. But it's like if you're going to do a legal tampering period, you're basically saying please tamper. It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, like the NFL opened the league year on Wednesday. That's when free agency started. But all this stuff was happening on Monday and Tuesday. The NFL got sick of not being able to talk about the stuff, and the teams not going to be able to reference it. And it was all very like reports and all this stuff. And it was so stupid. So they bumped back the legal tampering period. Well, now teams have just started tampering earlier, and they're tampering at the combine. That's all the combine is that one big tampering period.
Everybody says that is the spot every offseason where all the rumors and all the teams start talking.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you guys that it's senseless, but all you have to do is not talk about tampering. That's it, and you get away with it.
That's true. That's
literally the Fight Club of NFL rules. You just don't talk about it, and it's not an issue. You can't have Kirk Cousins come out in his press conference and mention talking to the trainer like you guys mentioned, and you also can't have college head coach James Franklin say, hey, yeah, I talked to Saquon. He told me he talked to Howie Roseman. So, yes, it's third hand, but you still are second hand. You still can't have that. You can't have
Is that how it happened with the Saquon thing? Is freaking James Franklin said something? Unbelievable. James Franklin's a clown, man.
Yeah, he said that Saquon had told him that he was talking to Howie Roseman. So I don't know how you spin that. And so if you're the NFL, you're only going to investigate if it is blatantly obvious, and that's what happened here. I mean, and when you look at the Dolphins, when they tampered with Tom Brady and Sean Payton, they got hit pretty hard. They lost the 1st round pick. And I don't think that's going to happen here, but I do think that these both seem like pretty clear instances. And I won't be surprised if they end up both losing maybe a day 3 draft pick.
Yeah. I think a day 2 pick wouldn't be out of the question because you are talking about a situation with Minnesota where if Atlanta isn't able to sell him on coming to the Falcons, for the Giants and Saquon and Philly, it's they weren't signing him anyway. What do you care? But with Cousins, the Vikings wanted him back and expressed how badly they wanted him back. And they would have had a much better chance at bringing him back if Cousins wasn't checking out Atlanta. His wife wasn't finding these great schools in Atlanta. There's a bunch of great private schools in Atlanta for kids their age. So buying some nice house in Buckhead, I'm sure, figuring out oh great, this training facility is so easy to get to. We like Arthur Blank. You're talking to everybody in Atlanta. You find this situation to be very palatable, and then you're energized by it. They're going to give you all this money, this guaranteed cash. They're going to build around you, and so it's all this stuff. They sold him on it before. They were really capable. Before it was legal, and so I think I wouldn't be shocked if they took a 2nd round pick away from the Falcons for that.
I just think that might be a little bit too steep. I mean, Breach, you mentioned the Brady one.
They took the Dolphins' first round pick.
But I'll tell you this, that was because it was when he was a member of the New England Patriots. He was still under contract with the team. And I guess you could technically say that Kirk Cousins was still under contract.
Tyler.
But it's not like he was a free agent, about to be a free agent.
Well, no, and like to your point, I mean, Kirk Cousins did say he was going to explore free agency. He was going to check out his options, and the Vikings knew that. But remember, that clause is in the contract with Cousins and the Vikings deal where if they didn't re-sign him before Wednesday at 4 p.m., then they have a $28 million cap hit. So they still have that cap hit, right? Even though they didn't sign him, or is that only if they signed him after that?
I am not 100% sure on that. You might have to look that up.
But
the point,
I see what you're saying. It's more. I just think it's a little more inbounds. Certainly, still out of bounds. You're breaking the rule. I just think it's a little bit more inbounds because it was pretty much within the window of the legal tampering period. Again, we don't know what was happening before that. I'm sure an NFL investigation will do that.
Yeah, I don't see him.
I think they'll get hit with something, but I don't think it's going to be a first-round pick. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misreading it, but I just don't know if it's going to be that level of a day 1 or day 2 pick. I think it's maybe a high day 3, if anything.
The Dolphins thing also, and Harry's in the chat screaming like, "Take away their first." I get it. Like if I was a Dolphins fan, I would want them to lose first as well. But the Dolphins thing also is like you were orchestrating like the removal of a head coach who had multiple years left on his contract, as well as a quarterback. And so, like, there were lots of organizations involved. It's also a division rival. It's the greatest quarterback of all time. It's like, and Stephen Ross got suspended for it. Like, we haven't heard anything. We haven't heard anything from.
Well, he invited him onto a yacht. He brought him on the yacht. Yeah. Remember?
And it's like that's and I think too that like that is you haven't heard anything like Arthur Blank, flew Cousins on a private jet to Atlanta. It's more like, all right, like, we want to make sure you've seen like you've checked everything out. Like the Falcons, the Falcons can claim like, hey, look, we just put out the vibe, man. Like we just, Dumb and Dumber, you're just sticking your hips out at the bar, like, showing it off and letting the ladies know. I think the Stephen Ross thing is like, Bob Kraft has so much sway in the league office, and it's so disrespectful for Stephen Ross to like bring Tom Brady. It's like slap in the face to Bob Kraft, right? To Robert Kraft to do that. Whereas like you don't really have the same thing with like Arthur Blank and the Wilf family here. So I think like that probably had a lot to do with the first round pick. All right,
yeah, I would say so. But I mean,
I love when teams start like sniping each other. And look, the Giants, I mean, the whole Tiki Barber thing blew up where it's like, you dead to me. The Giants, the fact that he signed with the Eagles is the only reason the Giants would like pursue any kind of like excessive tampering charges, in my opinion.
Well, and the other part, Saquon was actually asked about the Howie Roseman stuff today. He said, Coach Franklin, I think, kind of misinterpreted it. The truth was that the sales pitch was Penn State. How many Penn State fans are Eagles fans? But through my agent told me that. That is that's Saquon's story, and he's going to stick to it. I don't know what the Falcon story is going to be because Kirk is literally on video admitting to tampering. So that one's a little different.
So by the way, there's like an angry Vikings fan out there who posted it's like Kirk saying, I want to retire as a I'm going to use this. I'm not going to put 50 cents in the swear jar because I'm quoting him, but he's like, I want to retire as a Redskin. And he's like, I want to retire as a Viking. And he's like, I want to retire as a Falcon. And these Vikings fans are mad about it. It's like, you pay him, he would have stayed there. It's not like this guy is like, he would have stayed in Washington. He wanted to stay in Washington. He wanted to stay in Minnesota. He loved it. Yeah, but he didn't want to pay him.